everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carrie if you're new here, and today's video is going to be all about budgeting and kind of just living on one income. The things that I've learned over the past couple years, how me and my husband managed to make this work, and all of that. So this is just going to be kind of a chit chat type of video, so I hope you guys enjoy. So I'm going to get started with the very first thing is showing you guys my little binder. This is the binder that I use for my bills. This is kind of how I manage them and keep them organized. So I actually learned this, I got this idea from my sister-in-law. So what I did was I went to the store, bought a cheap little binder, and then I bought these little tabs that go inside of it. And these have like little pockets on the back, like right here. So you can actually store your bills in there. So I loved this idea. And what I do is for like the month of April, I go like ahead of time. I write down all of our bills and how much they're going to cost on a piece of notebook paper. And that kind of gives me an idea of how much money we are spending each month and where our money is going. And then on a separate piece of paper right behind that, I write how much my husband makes each week and then add it up and write down how much he makes each month. Then I subtract those two numbers, so I subtract the amount of bills we have from his income, and that shows me how much money we have left over, if we actually even have enough money to afford our bills, and all that. The next thing I have is this little weekly planner. This is like I take notes in this. I write down all of our appointments in this little notebook, so this helps me stay organized, and it's small, so I can fit this in my purse, or I can leave it on the counter, and it's not so bulky like this binder. So this will stay in our drawers, and this is where I store the bills, and then this is where I write down what day our bills are going to be due and all that. And I can keep these two together. I can even put this in here as well. So those are my two little bill type planner organizers. So that's that. And really quick, I wanted to kind of touch on a subject really fast. So about 4 or 5 years ago, we went from two incomes down to one income. At the time, I was pregnant, so we knew that I wanted to stay home with my daughter. But to be honest, we did not realize how hard it was going from 2 incomes down to 1. It was the hardest moments in our life. We literally struggled so bad. It put our relationship through a test. Everything. I was very emotional. I went through like some postpartum depression with my daughter, or after I had her. So living on one income, not having a lot of money to do anything was very tough. And I did not know how to budget at the time because, like I said, I was so used to having 2 incomes. I was so used to working and having my own money and being able to buy things that I wanted. So when I had to, first of all, downsize from our big house down to a small old trailer, it was very difficult for me. I'm not going to lie. I had a really rough year. But gradually over time, I started to learn how to budget, and one of the main things that happened was I ended up having to ask my family for help a lot. Even though I could have went back to work, I would have been working to pay for daycare basically, and it wouldn't have been worth it. So at the time, my family was very supportive of me staying home, and my dad was able to help me pay my car insurance at the time. So that was really helpful. And my mom and my grandma would come visit, and they would fill our house up with groceries. And even though it was a very embarrassing time for me, I learned a lot from it. I'm extremely grateful for it, and I don't feel like I have any reason to be ashamed for being in a situation like that, just because we're all human, like we all go through things, and sometimes things might be a little harder for some people than they are for some, but for me, that would have been probably the hardest moment in my life as far as me living out on my own, because I've always been independent, like since I was like 17 years old. I've been doing everything financially on my own. So about 4 years ago, when I needed their help more than my parents' help, like I said, it was difficult. On top of that, my husband, he was working so much. He still does. He works 6 days a week usually. So he busts his butt. He works overtime hours to make ends meet for us, and I'm extremely grateful for him. I've mentioned him in my videos before. I really want to do a Q&A with him. But when we're together, we're just having such a good time. I don't really think about filming videos with him. I just want to enjoy his time, So, but we plan on doing a Q&A soon. So if y'all have questions for us, please leave them down below in this video. But I just want to give you some of the tips and stuff that I've learned over the past couple years that have kind of made budgeting on one income a little easier. So the very first thing is, you know how much money your significant other is making. So whatever they're bringing in, we'll just pretend that it's $500 a week. So if they're bringing in $500 a week, every single week, you know they're making $500. Calculate that up. So 4 times 5 is $2,000. So $2,000 a month is what your significant other is making. And if you're living on one income for that, you got to make sure that your bills are as low as possible to make that work, because you got to include food, electric, gas, just regular like cost, like expenses add up. So like something as simple as going to the grocery store, that really adds up. So you really need to write down and figure out exactly how much the person who's bringing in the income is making. Have that on a piece of paper, and then on another piece of paper, kind of like how I did in my notebook, write down all of your bills. Every single expense that you spend every single month, you need to write it down. And definitely include like a miscellaneous amount. So like, let's just say $50 to $100. You want to add that in there. That's like for like birthdays or like small little holidays that pop up, like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, stuff like that. You want to calculate those in each month as well. I know for a fact that it is not easy to save money when you're on one income, because your money's so tight and it goes all towards bills or towards living that you don't really have a lot of money to save up. I am living proof that that is still difficult for us. We have been trying to save money for as long as I can remember, and every time we have any type of money saved up, something happens and all of our money goes towards that cost of something breaking or the car needing work. So like every time you get like 5 steps ahead, usually like take like 3-4 steps backwards. So it's definitely difficult in life. Everybody goes through things. Even if you have money, even if your like husband makes 6 figures a year and you're living on one income, it's still difficult, because the amount of money you make, you end up adding more bills accustomed to that amount of money. So for instance, like if my husband only brings in $50,000 a year, our expenses basically add up to that $50,000 a year. And then if he was to start making $100,000, we would have that extra money, but eventually we would start adding on things, and it would eventually add up to that amount of money, if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me, but I hope you guys are following along. But anyway, you want to calculate everything that you spend money on and write it down. So take a full month, and if you swipe your card or you use cash for anything, if it's for a coffee, for a snack at the gas station, calculate it. And at the end of the month, you need to figure out exactly what you're spending, because this will really show you how much money you're able to save, and if you're even able to save any at all. And if you're not, then you need to cut out some expenses. Some of the things that we have cut out over the years, we've never had cable. Never. I've never paid for cable. Just because we don't really watch TV that often. First of all, I'm way too busy to sit down and watch a TV show. And if we ever do have time to watch something, we usually just watch a movie and have a date night. Or we'll go to Redbox, or we'll hop on like Hulu, they have Netflix, stuff like that. So those things are a lot cheaper than paying for cable. So we've cut out cable. Recently, and I know this is probably shocking, we have cut out our internet. Like we have no Wi-Fi at home anymore. And that was a huge expense. It was like $130 a month. That is not a huge expense to some people, but for people like me and my husband, that's a lot of money each month. So we cut that out. We also, at one time, we had let me try to think of how to explain this. We went to a buy here, pay here place where you pay for a washer and dryer each month, and you basically rent to own it kind of thing. So we were doing that with a brand new washer and dryer. Eventually, that washer and dryer was not washing my clothes that well, so I decided to call that place and have them go ahead and come pick it up. Because you're doing a rent-to-own option, it doesn't affect your credit as long as you're making your payments on time. So I returned the washer and dryer, and I bought a used set for like $150. So that was another $100 a month that we were spending that was unnecessary. So we cut that expense out as well. We are very, very particular about our lights and our electric bill. Like anything that has to do with our electric bill, we are like sticklers about it. So I go around the house and I like barely ever use lights. Unless it's dark out we're using natural light. That's why a lot of my videos, you'll notice that I have all the windows open, because it saves so much money using natural light rather than turning on a light switch. And even like your fans, anything that's plugged into the wall, I try to like unplug it and remember to turn things off before we leave the house. And I also turn up our electric bill. Not our electric, our thermostat. So like I usually, if we're at home, I have it set to like 73, 74. But if we go to leave to go somewhere, I'll turn it up to like 77, 78. Because when I come in from outside, it feels cool enough to where it's not like, oh my gosh, you're walking into a hot house. But it will save my electric bill while I'm gone. If, it just, little things like that add up and make a huge difference. So that's another thing. Another thing that I do is, like I said, I have a budget for everything. So we have a grocery budget. We have a budget if we go out to dinner. We have a budget for date nights. You name it. Budget for birthdays. Budget for Christmas. Literally a budget for everything. That does make a difference as well, because instead of going to the store and just putting whatever I want in the buggy, I'm being mindful of what I'm spending my money on. So that helps a lot. Another thing is, I don't worry about new items, if that makes sense. Like, I don't go to the store and feel like I have to buy a new shirt. If I see something I like at the store, I'm the type of person that will keep that in my mind, and then I will go thrift store shopping like a week later, and I will try to look for something in that style, but for a fraction of the cost. So I'm all about thrift store shopping, yard sales. You guys know that's like 90% of my hauls are from thrift stores. Another thing is going to Dollar Tree for things that are pretty expensive at Walmart. So like plates, cups. You can buy so many things really cheap from the Dollar Tree that work fine. Yeah, they're super cheap and they might not last as long, but in the moment when you're living on one income, every little penny counts. Literally, every penny counts. The next thing is selling old items. This is something that I do like once every 2 months. I will go through the kids' toys, I will go through my stuff, my clothes, and I will sell the stuff on like Facebook Marketplace, or even have a yard sale with my grandma. Things like having yard sales and stuff are you can make a lot of money off a yard sale, honestly, or even selling things on Facebook. I know that a lot of people don't have time to do that, and this is a tip that I have for you guys. If you have a lot of stuff, like a lot of kids' toys, a lot of like clothes for yourself, sell it in bulk. You can like literally take a picture of everything, and obviously you're not going to get as much for it as if you were to sell it separately, but you could get a pile of toys and take a full picture of all of them piles of toys and put $25 for all of it. Come get it today. And someone will come get it, especially those who resell items will come pick it up. That's $25 cash quickly that you can make. Things like that help for like stay-at-home, like for me, when I do that kind of stuff, that's my spending money. That's when I get to go and splurge and buy new things for the kids. That's why I resell things. There are some things I donate depending on how well we're doing at the moment, but if we're struggling to make ends meet and money's starting to get tight again, I just start making little changes in our lives that make it easier. So try to cut down more on the electric bill. I try to sell things to kind of help out when I can. Obviously, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't make any money, but you can also babysit if you have the patience to watch other people's children. You can babysit, you can clean people's houses. Like when your spouse gets home, you could go clean someone's house for an hour and make $50. So there's all different ways to make money from home that's not necessarily being salesy, if that makes sense. Like in like a, how they always have like these little websites that you can sign up for and you can sell their items. Like they have essential oils, you can sell the It Works products. They have all these things, but you don't have to do that kind of things to make money. There's ways to make money from home just that are super easy and simple, and you can make just as much money, if that makes sense. So what else was it? Oh, I know. Find things in your area that are free. This is something me and my husband do all the time. I've mentioned this in my previous budgeting video, but we literally will just do anything that's free. Like we're not going to go to the zoo every single weekend, but we can go down to like the river and there's like a trail and we can see free alligators. We can see snakes. Like there's like a nature trail we can walk, and it's so much fun to do that, and it's safe. It's all like fenced and stuff. So it's completely free though, and we still have a good time, and we still get to spend family time together, but we're not spending any money doing it. What else? Communication is like key to everything, in my opinion. Me and my husband literally every time he gets paid, every single time he gets paid, he comes home and me and him talk for about 30 to 40 minutes about what bills we're going to pay out of his paycheck, how much money I have for the week. So like, for instance, he'll come home, he'll get paid, and some weeks are very tight. Like, I am not here to pretend that we have our crap together, because we don't. We struggle too sometimes, but we've always made our bills on time. And except for like, there's been a few times this year actually where we got so far behind. I was so stressed out. I was like, what are we gonna do? And I just broke down and started praying about it. Like, I just need help. We need guidance. There's like a bug in our house that will not leave. Like, we got to do better. And I started praying about it and really focusing on what's important. And that's what I've been focusing on right now. And we're doing great. Now I got the camera all crooked. Sorry, you guys. But what I was saying is that everybody goes through their struggles. Nobody's perfect. I don't care how much money they make. They're going through something in their life that we could probably never understand. So just try to keep that in mind when you're looking from the outside, looking into someone else's life. Just because it looks like they have it all together, just because it looks like they have a big fancy house or a brand new expensive car, that doesn't mean that their lives are perfect and that they're not going through struggles too. Honestly, the more money you make, the more expenses you have. That's just the dead honest truth. So anyway, with that being said, this is just kind of how we budget. Like I mentioned, every time he comes home from work, we do pay a bill, or not every time he comes home from work, every time he gets paid, we pay a bill. Whether it's small or we put money towards another bill, we always try to make sure that we're putting something towards a bill that's going to be due that month. I'll usually get a little bit of money for the week. He'll give me for spending money, but usually I'll end up spending that on groceries or some DIY project, because that's what I love to do. But he gets his spending money for the week as well, and that's just kind of how we make it work. It's probably the same as you guys do. We just kind of figure out what our bills are and pay them when we can, and yeah, that's it. I mean, there's nothing really to it. I'm not like one of those really fancy budgeting people. I can't tell you how to save money because I struggle with that as well. There's all different types of people out there that can help you with that though, and if you do a little bit of research, it's super easy to incorporate a little bit of savings. But one thing that I have made a point to do since my kids were little is to put money in their savings accounts for whenever they I kind of think I think my kids will do pretty good in school, so hopefully they'll end up getting a scholarship. But if not, I always try to put at least $5 a week in their savings account separately, even if that's all I can afford. But I try to put as much as I can, just so I'm putting something towards their future as well. Maybe for their first car or for their first apartment, whatever they need it for when they turn 18. They will have that money there for them, and you cannot touch it. I got them a closed savings account. They're not allowed to touch it or get any money out of it till they're 18. So I highly recommend doing that if you have children, because it does make you feel good as a parent to be putting something towards their future. So try to save a little bit of money for your kids, but that's it. That is all I do to make ends meet around here. Like, I just budget little things into our lives. I buy cheap things. I cut things out that we don't need anymore, and that's what we do. It's super simple, and I'm really basic, you guys. Like, I don't need a lot to make me happy. Like I've mentioned in plenty of my videos, I am such a southern country girl. Like, I just like to stay home. I like to go out and do nice things too, but I would much rather stay in my backyard and go fishing and have dinner at home than go out to dinner. So try to find things that make you happy that are free, because it makes a huge difference. But anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of getting to know how we manage money a little bit better. Like I said, it's nothing perfect, so y'all don't take advice from me. But thank you so much for watching. I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all. About to leave, already packing.